Hi, welcome to another video. This is Mr. Chow from EnglishTution.org. I hope you're having an excellent day. Now, in today's video, we want to talk about asking questions during lessons. So why did I decide to do this video? So over the course of tutoring for the past 8 to 9 years, I feel that some of my students do not know how to ask questions. So I think it's very important for a student to have this skill in their arsenal, right? So that they can ask questions and learn more and accelerate their own learning. So it shouldn't be the case that when we're attending lessons, there's nothing here and there's only silence. I think part of the reason why that is the case because some students think that coming for tuition lessons, the lessons are there for play, for entertainment, right? So I just go there and deliver the lessons and I'm sharing jokes, and they think that it's just for fun, for entertainment, right? So there's no need to ask questions, right? So I think that's the incorrect mindset. So many of them are actually just watching me doing demonstrations or listening passively without any form of engagement at all. And when I say that, I mean students just come for lessons, and for secondary school student lessons, they come for 2-hour lessons. And can you believe it, right? For that whole 2 hours, some students are just so quiet and they barely speak a word for the full 2 hours. So that's not good, right? So I always want to encourage some form of engagement with the students to make sure that they're listening, they're paying attention, and then they have understood the lesson, all right? So what ends up happening is that the students are the ones asking the questions instead of the students. Now, I know that some students have got a very shy disposition and they don't like to ask questions. They're just timid, right? And they don't know what question to ask. Later, we talk about the reasons why these students do not ask questions. So if that's the case, sometimes I do step in and anticipate the type of questions that they may ask. So I ask the questions myself and I answer those questions myself. Okay, it's not ideal, but it's better than asking no questions at all, right? That doesn't help the student with the understanding. So let's talk about why some students are not asking questions, right? So here are 5 of the more common reasons, right, that I could think of as to why students are not asking questions. The first reason is some students just claim that I don't know what I don't know, so I don't know what questions to ask, right? There's a lot of I don't know this, I don't know that, I don't know anything, right? So for me, that's just a lame excuse, so no solutions needed, just stop doing that, right? Okay, I'm not going to accept that as a reason for not asking questions, right? Second reason is that, and this is a big one, right? Some students are afraid of appearing silly or ignorant, right? Hence, they avoid embarrassment by not asking questions, right? If you're not paying attention, they won't be caught by the teacher, right? Okay, if they start to ask questions. So it's better and safer not to ask questions at all, right? So of course, the solution is just to have an adjustment in the mindset, right? So I think it's unavoidable to make mistakes or ask silly questions sometimes, right? So just be a bit thick-skinned and you ask the first question, ask the second questions, right? Sometimes you ask kind of a silly questions, then the whole class can laugh about it. So there's nothing wrong with just asking questions, right? So over time, you keep asking questions and this won't be an issue anymore, right? You will no longer be embarrassed. It will be even more embarrassing if you don't ask the question and then you get caught out during the exam, right? That's something that you did not understand, and as a result, you receive poor grades, right? I think that's a bigger embarrassment. So don't be afraid of a little bit of embarrassment in class just by asking questions, all right? Well, third reason is, and this happened quite a lot of times, right? Students are not paying attention and they are lost, right? And because they are lost, they don't even know what question to ask. So the solution is very simple indeed, which is just to focus and pay more attention and try to follow what the teacher is saying, all right? Reason number 4, some students just claim that I don't like to ask this teacher question because I don't understand the explanation even after asking the questions, right? It's like, so what's the point of asking, right? Even if I ask the question, and the answer came back and I still don't understand. All right. Well, sometimes you may want to rephrase the question and ask it again, right? There's nothing wrong with asking for clarification, right? Of course, you can't do it like too many times. That becomes annoying, but certainly you can do it for like 2 or 3 times, and usually teachers are patient enough, right? They will try to maybe seek an alternative explanation, or maybe give you 1 or 2 more examples to help students understand. All right, so don't be afraid to ask. All right, follow up with another question. All right, reason number 5, sometimes students are just put off by the teacher's mannerism, right? Teachers sounded impatient and avoided answering my questions, right? And because of that, they get put off and they don't like to ask the teacher's questions. And I would like to add that teachers do not sound impatient for no good reason, right? So I think there's an art to asking questions, as to when to ask the question and what type of questions to ask, so that the teachers do not get annoyed or impatient, right? Teachers are human beings, right? They will also get annoyed and impatient or irritated, right, by the timing of the questions and by some type of questions, right? So the solution is to know when to ask questions, which I'm going to cover in my next slide. So here are some tips on asking questions. So if you hit these tips, I believe it will really help you out in the classroom. Okay, so first tip, don't ask questions when the teacher is delivering the lesson. So what do I mean? So when I'm teaching personally, I'm trying to deliver a very important point across, and then suddenly one student just shout out a question, right? So to me, that's an interruption, and it disrupts the flow of the lesson. And generally speaking, many teachers don't like that. Okay, so there are better times, right, to ask questions. So for example, you can ask questions when there's a short break or near the end of the lesson, and there's a slight pause, or the teacher is drinking water, or you are drinking water, there's a water break, right? But if you're afraid that you would have forgotten the question and you really have to ask, at least put up your hand. Don't just shout out the question and interrupt the lesson, right? And you disrupt the flow of the lesson as a result. Okay, so you put up your hand and you wait there patiently. When the teacher is ready, he will come to you and decide whether he or she wants to answer that question on the spot, or maybe wait until the end of the lesson. Okay, tip number 3, write down all your questions. Now, there may not be enough time to clear your doubts during the lesson, because maybe there's a lot of content to cover, right? There's a lot of ground to cover, and then sometimes there are multiple students in the same class, right? So if each student asks one or two questions, it will just take a lot of time, right? So just write down all your questions. So in case you need more time, you can always maybe stay back after the lesson, or just go for extra consultations. Okay, but if you don't write down your questions, so it's just gone, right? And you never get a chance to ask those questions. Okay. And tip number 4, and I always advise my students to do this, right? But not many students do this, right? Put a question mark on your notes so that you remember what to ask, right? And then the next time you get an opportunity, right, you can just take your notes, look at the question marks, and straight away you can remember, right? Okay, these are the places that I need clarification, and then you can ask your questions from there. And tip number 5, do not ask irrelevant questions, right? Because I have some very young students, they're still very playful, and sometimes they end up wasting a lot of time, right, by asking irrelevant questions, right? Like for example, asking me, teacher, what do you have in the boxes on the top of the shelf, right? They got curious and they think I have toys inside. So lesson time is very valuable, right? So don't think of it as playtime, right? And do not ask the irrelevant questions. And some of these questions can be very annoying, right? Besides being very time consuming, right? You don't want to waste time. Now let me before I end this video, let me give you some examples of how to start questions, just in case you say, Mr. Chow, I don't know how to start asking questions, or I feel embarrassed, right? So these are some suggestions, right? You can start by saying put up your hand first, right? Hand. Just one hand will do, and patiently wait, right? Don't just shout out your question, right? No need to raise your legs. Just put up your hand and then you just ask, sure, what do you mean when you say, and then you ask your question, all right? Or you can say, sure, I didn't catch what you have just said just now. Can you repeat the explanation, all right? Sometimes you may be distracted, but do not do it too often, right? Like I said, you can ask the teacher to repeat twice, 3 times, but if you insist on not paying attention, don't expect the teacher to repeat like 5, 6, 10 times, right? Because then it slows down the progress of the teaching, right? So 2 or 3 times, I think that's fair, right? If you need clarification, right, the teacher already explained, and then you just say, sure, I don't really understand your explanation. Can you slow it down? Is this what you mean? And that's how you start the question, okay? To seek clarification, all right? Or just say, sure, I'm confused by what you have just said, right? Can you explain more about maybe step 4 or the last step, right? How I don't know how you got the answer for the last step, right? Can you explain more? So that's fine as well, right? So with that said, we have come to the end of the lesson. Hopefully you'll find the tips and the suggestions to be useful. If you're serious about improving your English and you would like to sign up for lessons, please visit EnglishTuition.org. Now the timetable for the 2024 is out. I have very few slots left, right? So if you're still considering, do check out the website and see if the slots are available. So once again, thanks for watching the video, and I hope you're having an excellent day, and I will see you soon in the next video. Bye bye.